It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the Movie Time podcast with your hosts, LOWKEY Geek Renee Zalata and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back again, brand new week, brand new episode of Movie Time. Got the movie bros in the hizzy. Excited for this episode, because if you all know, we are in the thick of award season. And as of this week, voting for Oscar nominations started, and they'll be announced in about a couple weeks from the recording of this. We're recording this on Friday the 12th. Just missed out one day of Friday the 13th. So unfortunately, we missed out on that. But fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at things. But before we get into all of that good stuff, Blake, how are you, my man? How are things going? How much did you struggle in preparing for our episode today?
You said we're in the hizzy. I'm in a tizzy over here because I love a list. I got a little bit of that OCDs. And when it comes to going over the year movies and you compact it and condense it in all these tiny little categories and we parcel it out. And I'm like, oh no, is Zone of Interest more likely to be a Best Picture nominee than All of Us Strangers? Oh no. And I freak out. And then you remind me that we're having fun here. And I'm here to have fun and be right and to never be wrong. And as long as I do a good job and I'm a good boy and I get a gold star, then I'm good. That's all I need.
More like zone of lack of interest. Am I right? Sorry. I was getting flashbacks of the three jackasses who sat behind me when I saw that movie.
That's every time you hear that movie title, you're going to get triggered with that moment.
Yeah. It's going to be like that every time. Just like anytime you bring up Little Mermaid, I'm thinking of the two slobs sitting to my right with their own commentary, talking about how they're going to download the songs as soon as they're done on Spotify and all that. But
so cool.
That's neither here nor there. In case you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, and maybe you didn't pay attention to what the title said of this episode, we are going to spend this episode going through our nomination predictions for this year's Oscars. Like I said before, the nominations are going to be officially announced in a couple of weeks as of the recording of this. We will be reacting to them live on the YouTube channel. So if you want to join us and react along with us, you can do so by going to the LOWKEY Geek YouTube channel there. And if you subscribe now and you hit those notifications, and make sure you get notified every time a new video is uploaded, then you will be notified once we are live so that you could join in on the fun and the festivities there. So we're also going to use this as a platform and kind of use it as a little draft, so to speak. Add a little spice to our annual Movie Time Oscar pool. And what that means is basically, Blake has his own predictions for nominations. I have my own predictions for nominations. For whatever prediction we get right, we're going to get bonus points. And going into our final Oscar pool predictions, these bonus points are going to carry on over, and then it could possibly make or break whoever's going to be the overall winner of the Oscar predictions and the Oscar pools for this year. So how that's all going to work is that all the smaller categories are going to be worth 3 points each. So any nominations that we guess correct, we get 3 points for each of those. For the major categories, which are the acting categories, directing category, and best picture, these will be worth 5 points. So, like I said, every nomination that we could get correct, 5 bonus points for each of those nominations that we guess correctly. So we could be going into the Oscar pool already with 100 points or so, getting ourselves ready for the final results as we tally things up at the end of that evening when the Oscars air. So it kind of spices things up a bit, and it adds a little bit more excitement to all that. So we're totally excited and doing all this. And if you want to play along, by all means, share along your predictions of the nominees and what you think is going to be nominated. You could do so by either commenting on the video that's going to be posted on the YouTube channel, hitting us up in the Q&A section on Spotify, or shooting us an email message on the to the email address that's listed in the description of this episode. We will read anything that comes in, and of course, we will feature any question, comment, or anything that comes our way in a future episode.
Anything. Sabotage us.
That's right.
Do it clever, but sabotage us.
Yeah. And please, if you're going to send a dick pic, make sure you have the perfect lighting, because, we don't want to be second guessing anything. We want to make sure that we see the full on breadth of what you're packing. Am I wrong?
And use a good microphone.
Yes, use a good microphone. Yeah. Because we
shout out my 2023 present from Renee.
We want to hear that
sweet ass microphone.
That sucker flapping on the screen there. So, before we get into things, any last words of prep or anything you want to say about how we're approaching things this year? I think this is exciting, something different that we're doing.
I would say my last words would be, God help me, and I am death, destroyer of worlds. Please, God, make this stop. Because I went from having a great time watching all the movies to watching way too many movies at the end of the year. And now there's not really any new movies out. So I went to Book of Clarence last night. I'm going to probably Beekeeper and Mean Girls this weekend, and then just sit and look at this list of 2023 movies and wonder, who are the BAFTAs going to put in for score? And will that affect how things will go at the Oscars? And that we have a lot of that time ahead. So I'm glad we're doing this together. I'm glad we got a buddy system going. If you're going to go into award season, don't go alone. That's my advice.
Yeah, always go with a buddy. You have a support system in place. We will be holding our hands throughout this whole entire process. So we are in a good space, and we're glad that you're in on the ride with us as you're listening or watching along. All right, let's get through it. So we're going to go down the list that we have here. First category that we have is documentary. So these are the live action documentaries, long format here. So each category will have 5 nominees, with the exception of Best Picture, which will have 10. Also, a little caveat too that we should mention, something that we actually just found out prior to recording. When it comes to original song, each movie is limited to only 2 nominees for their entries as far as original song is concerned. So that can play very heavily in a movie like Barbie that had a banging soundtrack and had multiple songs that a lot of people would want to nominate. Same thing with something like The Color Purple. So that's something just to keep in mind as we go through these things. But documentary, I'll start off on my end. My predictions for nominees are still a Michael J. Fox movie, Beyond Utopia, 20 Days in Mariupol, Four Daughters, and American Symphony. Now, my quick thing on this is that the only documentary that I've watched from this list is still a Michael J. Fox movie. I think this was a very well done documentary, and that's one of the reasons why I think it is going to be nominated. Now, I do have on the queue Beyond Utopia and 20 Days in Mariupol next. So I'll be watching those throughout this month. And hopefully Four Daughters and American Symphony will be the following up on those. If these are going to be the final nominations here. So that's what I have here. Blake, what about you and your end?
I think we've got the exact same nominees, so we can just leave it at that. I've seen less of them than you, which was one. I saw documentaries last year, I promise, and I loved some of them greatly. Yeah. But overall, this category is kind of funny where, like a Michael J. Fox story, I'm not saying it's not a great documentary, but it's Hollywood loves on these other categories, nominating Hollywood type movies. So that's kind of all I'll add to that. I'm curious how this one will shake out. It's hard to not. It's hard to vote against Michael J. Fox,
right? Yeah.
When that document is that, but in theory, that's not what the vote should be about. But a lot of times these will be issue based, and so if there's a hot button issue, and sometimes those hot button issues don't reveal themselves until closer to the end. So hopefully we don't have any big world crises, but sometimes you get a big world crisis or a war goes off, and then Navalny is very nominated at that point. You know, there will be stories like that any given year. So I'm curious how this will shake out. But as of now, you and I are in the same boat. I had a couple I would have put in here, but that's not what this episode's about. So we're just going to move on.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, when it comes to like category like documentary, there are, I believe it was 10 categories that had short lists that dictated by the Academy themselves. So we already had kind of a leg up of what was being considered as far as nominations are concerned. So I believe those categories were documentary short, international, makeup and hairstyling, score, original song, animated short, and live action short, I believe. No, live action short was not a short was it? I have to take a look.
I guess if it was shortlisted, yes, all the shorts categories.
The short categories. Okay. Yeah. So those, we already had kind of an idea of what was being allowed to be nominated. So that kind of helped us determine, okay, which route are we going that way? And then everything else is basically just our own predictions, stats, all that, buzz, word on the street, gut feelings, and everything. So next category we have is documentary short. I haven't seen any of them on this on the shorted list, but the ones that I'm going with are The Last Repair Shop, The ABCs of Book Banning, Deciding Vote, The Barber of Little Rock, and The Last Song from Kabul. What about you there, Blake?
Precisely the exact same. And this is what's interesting is at this season, you've got a lot of critics who are looking at each other to their left and right, and then they're guessing and putting their predictions down. And you and I are now part of this. Mm-hmm. And then the voting happens, and turns out people might not really like these because there's such little information to go off of. And so there will be plenty of surprises here, I'm sure. But as of now, the consensus is these are the 5 most likely documentary shorts to be nominated. And just about every year, you'll get some surprises in here. Mm-hmm. The problem with a prediction game such as ours is, you can guess what the surprise will be, but odds are you're wrong. So that's a funner game in my mind to play once it comes to the actual ballot, rather than this, where we're trying to put 5 out there and guess what those 5 are, rather than, what will the surprise or the upset be on a 50-50 type race? Because then it's really narrowed down. Right now, there's way more than this many of these shorts categories, and could go any which way, and a lot of people haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, and let's just address what some of the controversies are that we face every year. There are going to be people on the voting board that probably have never seen any of these, nor will they. So they could just be like kind of like picking whatever they think is right, what they hear from some other people and all that. So that's also where things get a little muddy too. So it'll be really, really interesting what they're going to finally come up with, or what the final tally is as far as like how many things were nominated for what, right? So that's really where it gets really fascinating and interesting there, but also controversial in a way. Going into international, Blake, you want to start off on this one on your end, and then you could take the next 2. All right, let's go.
Yes, that way you can copy my answers, no problem. So Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, Fallen Leaves, The Taste of Things, and The Teacher's Lounge.
Oh, okay. All right.
And The Taste of Things, I'm just calling that not Anatomy of a Fall. If that helps. Yeah,
that is like one thing that really, really surprises me. That France basically, I want to say around September, probably even earlier than that, decided that their Palme d'Or winner, Anatomy of the Fall, was not going to be the movie they were going to elect for international feature film.
Spreading that love, the French way. I get
Yeah.
it.
And, when you have a movie with Julia Binoche attached to it, they probably thought, hey, she brings us luck every time, so let's push her through with our little romance cooking movie there. So we'll see how far that goes. As far as my list is concerned, we're pretty much identical with the exception of one. So you have, what was that? Teacher's Lounge? Is that yeah? I have Perfect Days instead of that.
Tempting.
Okay. Again, this is one of those things where we're just hearing a lot of good stuff with these movies. I think it could go either way, to be honest with you. I think Fallen Leaves, Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, and Taste of Things, those are the ones that are getting a lot of buzz right now. And I think, like I said, you could go either way with that extra fifth nomination. But I'm going with Perfect Days myself. And I guess we'll just see what happens from there. Now, I have seen in this category, Zone of Interest, and Society of Snow. I'm actually going to be watching it this weekend because it's on Netflix now.
Very
you saw it.
Movie. Yeah. Emphasis on gross. There was some. This is not really much of a spoiler if you know how people who are abandoned for months in groups go. You can kind of piece it together. There's a little bit of meat chewing. Yeah. And I found it to be more unsettling than I would have liked. Maybe I just had a weak stomach that day. I also found it to be very drawn out and miserable. And usually, from my personal experience, I don't love freezing to death in the snow and resorting to cannibalism of my closest friends and the teammates of my rugby team. So I didn't enjoy the experience personally. Maybe some of them had a great time. I don't want to knock anyone's yum, but I was miserable. And it was kind of like the All Quiet on the Western Front thing, but without like action or war, and instead like heated debates of like, is it okay to eat people if you're starving to death and stuff like that. So enjoy, bon appetit. But I would just say you're getting into a whole. It's good. It is a compelling, engrossing film, but the word "gross" is in there for a reason.
Is this based on a in real life event that happened?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's interesting that we're getting movies like this again. I remember we got a movie like this a long time ago. I believe it was called Alive. It also kind of dealt with a plane crash and people having to survive and all that. Now we have a movie like this. We have a TV show called Yellow Jackets that deals with a similar situation. And I believe there was some other movie that kind of dealt with something similar to this. So there's a lot of interest in cannibalism all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Society eating its own. I don't know where that might be coming from. Fear of the end of days and people resorting to survival necessities. So, yeah, who knows? Could be coming from anywhere.
Right. All right, cool. Moving on to the next category here, we have makeup and hairstyling. So, Blake, take it away.
Hold on, let me get my
this is like one of our favorite categories because we always like want to look our best everywhere we go.
We both have really good heads of hair.
Absolutely. Yes.
Maestro, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Society of the Snow.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
A lot of folks had Society of the Snow, or they had it lower on their list. Kind of from what I'm talking about, what happens is you also watch their bodies degrade.
Right.
And like you go from a very cute, handsome, college age-ish rugby team to sunburn to hell, wounds. Like you really are watching them go through absolute hell, but in a very naturalistic way. And so there's photos, and they're kind of, from what I could tell, they're basing it off of real photos that were recovered from the crash. And you're like, oh, and they're actually showing someone go from beautiful, healthy young man to looks like a monster that's been
Mm.
lost for months in the wilderness kind of look. Real gnarly. Kind of like a The Revenant kind of vibe, where you're just seeing someone just get worse and worse as they get deeper into their struggle for survival.
Right.
That's why I threw that one up there. As more people see it, as more award shows happen where people will have seen it, I think it might get more love in this category specifically, but we'll see. That left an impression on me, though, for sure. It's one of the things that was hard to look away from.
Nice. Yeah, I think you seeing the movie helped dictate your choice here. I didn't, so I didn't even know the breadth of what that makeup effect would look like. Because our list is similar except for two.
Yeah, we saw it work out last year with All Quiet on the Western Front, a quiet Netflix movie. But one nice thing about being a Netflix movie is everybody can see it.
Right.
And as soon as people are talking about nominees or, oh, did you see that? They can just go home and flip it on before at any time, have it on the background while they're working, before they go to bed, whatever. And so you get a bunch of people seeing it at the same time, and that momentum can real quickly shift with those. That's why I'm going with that. That said, the prognosticators know exactly the same amount I do, and they're not choosing it right now. So I'm that's one of my little bets.
Okay. I think the only difference we have here is I have Napoleon and Beau is Afraid on my list. I guess you have Society of the Snow and Killers of the Flower Moon. So outside of those two, everything else is pretty similar on my list.
Did you choose Napoleon because you thought it was makeup and hat styling? Is that what happened there?
It's all about the hat. It's all about the hat.
The hat, it's great hat work.
It's iconic.
For sure. The best hat styling ever.
Yeah, for sure. 1,000%. That's the only reason why I chose that.
Citizen Kane of hat styling, I would say. That's what everyone says about that movie when they see it.
Absolutely. No, the reason why I chose that too is because it's also a very unique period piece, because it is a period piece. And I feel like every time there's something like that involved, that's usually something that they pay attention to in these categories. And Beau is Afraid, I just kind of wanted to give some love to that movie because I think that movie does deserve it, and there was some interesting stuff that they did with Joaquin Phoenix in that movie as he's going through his little, kind of mental meltdown. And, we see him in different scenarios too. So I feel like that has a lot to, in my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of makeup involved in some of his changes as he goes through different scenarios and all. So again, just to recap my list: Maestro, Poor Things, Napoleon, Beau is Afraid, and Oppenheimer. That's what I have here. And we're not picking any winners yet in this list. This is just for our nomination predictions. We're going to save the winner predictions for when the nominations are finally officially announced. And then Blake and I are going through our final Oscar pool sheets. That's where we're going to really come up with our final, our winner predictions there.
Sort of, but I will add, and I've been saying this all year, that the Best Picture winner is going to be Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget.
Oh, I don't blame you. Yeah.
That's not a spoiler. That's not like something we have to hold on to, a big secret. Everyone in Hollywood knows that, and like I'm standing by it now.
Yeah.
Some people are waiting to see how the nominations shake out, but it's definitely for Best Picture winner, not just nomination. It'll be Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget.
Yeah, now it's all formality stuff. Like we already know what's going to be the one walking away with the award. So,
Right. Exactly.
Next up, the next two categories deal with music. So first we have score. So on my list here, I have Oppenheimer, The Boy and the Heron, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, and The Zone of Interest. What about you there, Blake?
Sorry, that was for score?
Score, yes.
Okay. So you and I then have the exact same ones, except I didn't have Boy and the Heron, because that's not even the name of the movie. It's Boy and the Heron. But I'm now having a lot of second guessing here.
Uh-oh. Too late.
So you're watching it in real person? No. I actually don't have Boy and the Heron or Heron. I have Spider-Verse for my fifth slot in school.
Okay.
You didn't have Spider-Verse, right?
I did not. No, I did not.
Yeah, you said it wasn't that good of a movie. You didn't like it.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Again, it's another one of those movies that add to the whole superhero fatigue.
Yeah, get out of here. It's just like all the other ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. The one thing I will say in this category, it really surprises me that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem wasn't considered, because you have Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor who did the soundtrack for that film. So I'm a little surprised that they missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, they're just doing the TMNT thing, which is kind of weird because they used to do, like high level Oscar. And I think it's more of a stigma thing, honestly. I'm not trying to say TMNT was the second best movie to Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget.
True.
But I don't think that the Oscars are taking that seriously in other categories outside animated, which I'm not there yet, but soon. So
I think that was a missed opportunity there. I think that was an oversight, a snub, as we all call it in the business. Next up, we have original song. So this is going to be an interesting category, I think, because again, you have Barbie that has multiple choices to go with in this category. You have The Color Purple with multiple choices to go in this category. So what I went with was What Was I Made For? Barbie. I'm Just Ken, Barbie. Keep It Moving, The Color Purple. Road to Freedom from Rustin. And The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. What say you?
Okay. Yeah, I don't have Fire Inside Flamin' Hot. I cannot fathom any Oscar person who just is feeling real good about themselves writing that down. And I looked into the why it would be nominated. I'm not buying it. So for original song, What Was I Made For? I'm Just Ken, Road to Freedom, Keep It Moving, and it never went. Keep It Moving from Color Purple, and It Never Went Away from American Symphony.
Okay.
So I'm adding in I just feel like there's enough love for Jean-Baptiste. And then there's also something where when someone's popular in Hollywood, that can help them out a lot and can go a long way in their when they're being nominated. The fact that he was Stephen Colbert's band leader means he was in a lot of living rooms and met a lot of celebrities. Probably shook hands, and from everything I've heard and can tell, he's a great dude, a great hang, solid person. So I bet he's got a lot of good handshakes in there with voters that might count for something. So I'm just giving a little more love to that movie than the prognosticators are so far, because that's one of those things that won't show itself in some of these awards that you see out there. And then once you get to Hollywood Oscars time, those Hollywood considerations actually mean a lot more.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I don't blame you for going that route, especially since, again, this is, at the end of the day, these are all campaigns. So a lot of these people will be campaigning. The studios are campaigning. If you have any of the trade newspapers or mags like the Hollywood Reporter, this is the time you're going to start seeing a bunch of ads show up about for your consideration. Facebook ads, Letterboxd ads, you're going to see a lot of that stuff. So again, what catches the eye more and what kind of resonates with those voters more? This is a time where we're going to be seeing a lot of that stuff. So you could be very well correct. Wasn't Jean-Baptiste in one of the movies too? Oh yeah, he was in Color Purple, wasn't he?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that also helps out.
Yeah,
for sure.
So there you go. All right. Let's see. I'll take the next two, and you could take the next two after that. Okay. Next up, we have animated short. This is again a unique category here because I usually don't get to see a lot of these until week of the awards show and all. But I did see one of them like this past week, and that is Once Upon a Studio, because that's on Disney Plus now. And I thought it was very cute. So on my list, I have Once Upon a Studio, War Is Over, Pete, Letter to a Pig, and Eva. What about yourself?
Same. Once Upon a Time in a Studio, Letter to a Pig, Pete, War Is Over, and Eva. I've seen all of those except War Is Over and Eva. Those first three make sense to me, either because they're issues based or Disney's gets a lot of love at the Oscars. Letter to a Pig was pretty profound. You'll see it sometimes, especially with the animated shorts, and Eva looks like one of these too. The animated shorts that are more of like a very dramatic European, heartbreaking. You might see some things you wouldn't expect to see. And this category used to have a lot more of the Pixar type of short films,
right.
And now it's gone more artistic leaning, with the exception of stuff like Once Upon a Studio. There will always be exceptions there. But I will say that Letterboxd has a list of all the shortlisted films for the 2024 Oscars. Sorry, shortlisted short films, and all of them. But there's a list on there with where you can watch those, including a lot of them. They're not on streamers. It's a random Vimeo link, a random YouTube link. You can pay $1 to see it on some festival website or whatever. So I've gotten to see a bunch of those, and honestly, a lot of gems in there, and some that probably will never be nominated that are now among my new favorite short films I've ever seen. You get to find some new up-and-coming creators sometimes, get excited by little talent, or, oh my gosh, who produced this? And, some huge celebrity starring in this thing. There's a lot of lovely surprises in these categories. And I would say that usually happens with the ones that are nominated, but when you go to the shortlisted ones, there's a lot of gold there to be mined. So would fully recommend seeing those. The ones I haven't seen are the ones that aren't quite available elsewhere, or that I haven't quite gotten to yet. But hopefully War is Over. I actually have the record behind me from John and Yoko, and a big favorite. I have a pin that I wear I have a magnet on my refrigerator over there. I really want to see that one. So far, haven't been able to. So really hoping it gets nominated and becomes ubiquitously available. But for now, it's on my list, and that's where it is. That's where you can see it.
Yeah. And also, like, theater chains would sometimes do like these marathon showings of these short categories. I know AMC does like the animated short features, those that are nominated, and they'll just do like a random screening of that you can watch. I don't think Regal, or I don't know if any of the other chains do that. But if you have a chance to catch one of those showings, then that could be something interesting for all of you to check out as well. Next up, we have animated feature. So this is full-length feature animated film. On my list, now this is always one of my favorite categories because I am a big animation fan. So on my list, I went with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Boy and the Heron, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Elemental, and Nimona.
Chicken Run. What? No Chicken Run Down of a Nugget?
No.
You think it's one of those because they know they're going to give it Best Picture? They're not going to put it in the end because it's like
exactly because they already know it's solidified as a Best Picture winner. So there's no need to have it in animated feature. They're just going to give more love to other.
It's really more than an animated film. It's a film. It's actually more than a film.
It's an experience. It's an experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, honestly, I did a last minute switch. I had Chicken Run in my list, and I was like, there's no way I want to give any more love to any of those type of movies moving forward. So I just said, you know what? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles needs to have some love, because that was definitely one of the more talked about as far as best animated movies that came out last year. So I replaced it with that. So that's how I went with that.
Okay. Seems smart. Seems sound. Are we switching back to me now, or am I jumping the gun? Are you doing animated?
What was your animated feature?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Exact same. 100% same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So for live action short and sound, we'll have you start it off. So have at it. Live action short.
Wes Anderson's The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Pedro Almodovar's Strange Way of Life. That's the end of our celebrity subsection. Then the Anne Frank gift shop. Really, I thought it was going to be very sincere. Like some of these are very hard hitting. Hilarious piss take on marketing such a sacred museum / gift shop, and it was just like a pitch room where they're trying to figure out how they can get it to go viral, and it was biting as hell. So if you're up for some satire around a very serious topic, that was enjoyable. The Shepherd. Sorry, let me just go back through. Wonderful World of Henry Sugar, Strange Way of Life, The Anne Frank Gift Shop, The Shepherd, and Red, White, and Blue. Red, White, and Blue is lower than a lot of other people's lists. The ones that are higher, I'm guessing it's on yours. I don't know. But The After, I saw it on Netflix, and maybe I just missed it or something. I thought it was almost unwatchable. Just only melodrama, not really much of a story or of anything. And so I'm going with Red, White, and Blue. Dug a little deeper on the list. It's not necessarily the most timely thing because right now in our country, abortion's been illegal in much of America for a while now, but it is still pertinent enough that I think that it might be on voters' minds. And if folks are seeing these, this one might make its way at least onto the nominations list. So what say you? What do you got, friend?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have a similar list, except like you mentioned, I do have The After on my list. Instead of
a lot of people do, and it's probably a smart bet. It's just every now and then I'll watch them and I'll have a feeling like if they're seeing what I'm seeing, there's no way in hell. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I just missed it or something. I'm not sure. So I've been wrong like once before in my life. I hope it never happens again.
Once before.
This could be it. Maybe twice.
But like you said too, like you never know what's gonna like hit home to some of these voters, especially at this time. It all depends.
I also didn't want to do pure chalk with what others are saying. So I know we're both doing this. You just try to read between the lines a little bit and make your own little gut decisions where you can. And this was one of those, just from having seen a bunch of these.
Oh, that makes sense. Cool. Next up, we have sound. What do you have on your list?
For the category of sound, I have Oppenheimer, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Ferrari, and Zone of Interest.
Okay, nice. I don't have Killers of the Flower Moon on my list. I have really? Napoleon actually on my list. Yeah.
I'm currently looking at Beau's Afraid and Napoleon basically getting blanked on mine. I think there's one exception maybe, but you're giving the love to the Hat Man, Big Joaquin, and the Ridley Scott.
I am. Because again, this is one of those films that anytime you deal with any kind of war, sound does play very heavily when it comes to those action scenes. So that's the way I'm approaching this. Obviously, movies like Maestro, Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, Ferrari, that kind of makes sense. Ferrari mainly because of the racing scenes. You know, like those are like the most intense racing scenes that we've gotten on film recently. Sound has a lot to play with that. So my choice of Napoleon was just because of the battle scenes and how that could play very heavily on the impact of those battle scenes, which I think, in my opinion, were the best parts of that movie anyway. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Napoleon gets 5 nominations, especially undercard stuff. If it got totally blanked, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Sure.
It's one of those weird middle ground ones, and you could see it on a nomination day of, oh my gosh, Saltburn and Napoleon and Beau's Afraid got 0 nominations, and then you could see it totally like Napoleon's just that. People love Ridley Scott. It's a lot of people saw that movie. It's a well-known figure. Oscars love a biopic, and you could see it just racking up especially some of those smaller numbers.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we'll see, but that's what makes this fun, right? You never know what's going to happen. We could always get surprised.
I'm miserable. This is fun. Is it supposed to be fun?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
We started off saying that this was a fun thing to do. And I love how, as we get deeper into the episode, the more stressed out you're looking right now. So.
I'm looking ahead right now. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. It's about to get real fucked up.
Oh, man. All right. Next up, we have visual effects. So on my list of visual effects, I put down Godzilla -1, Poor Things, Society of the Snow, The Creator, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think the big surprise here is Godzilla -1. I think if you asked a lot of people from the beginning of the year, even through the summer, I don't think a lot of people were expecting to... Are you changing things on my list right now?
Oh, fuck. Is that your list? I'm
dude.
so sorry.
What are you doing?
Here, I can fix this. Give me a second.
Like
I was trying to do it on my list.
all of a sudden I'm
That's
seeing things
so funny.
change on my list. I'm like,
I was
hey, what's
looking at
going on
Yeah, I
here?
switched over yours. I am so sorry. You got a lot of really terrible choices though, so maybe I should leave them as is for you. Okay, I'm back over on mine.
What a hot mess. I can see how stressed out you are with this right now.
No, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm totally good.
But yeah, as I was saying, Godzilla minus one. The reason why I put that on my list is because when the movie came out, first of all, it was an accomplishment that the director also did his own visual effects for the film. So this was a guy that did visual effects, the directing, the writing. He was like an all-in-one stop like shop for this film. Plus, with the amount of budget he had to work with, I thought that was very, very fascinating. So that's one of the reasons why I put this on my list, because that is an achievement and accomplishment for so little to be able to accomplish so much. Now, I was very critical about some of the special effects in the movie, but it was nothing that ever really took me out of the experience. But then when you learn about how it all came about, I have to give kudos to them on making this happen and making it work the way it worked. So that's how I came up with my list here. What do you have on yours?
Sorry, I moved so many things around so quickly just now. I think we're good. What category are we on?
We're on visual effects.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay, I was 3 off. Good. All right. So now everything makes sense. Godzilla minus one. Yes. Poor Things. The Creator. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Society of the Snow. Society of the Snow being another one of those where once you see it, you're not unseeing it. And I already talked about that earlier, but I'm feeling good about these 5.
Nice. Okay. And I'm just going to recap again, just to make sure. I'm going to look at these just to make sure you didn't change anything on my list. But for visual effects, I have Godzilla minus one, Poor Things, Society of the Snow, The Creator, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume
You think
3.
just to confirm here, because obviously I wouldn't mess with your list at all. Society of the Snow is not a top 5 favorite. Are you sure that's something that you would put on your list?
Yes, I did that on purpose. Okay. For
just
the
wanted
reason,
to make sure. That was one of the tests of like, okay, if he put this, then yeah, okay.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that a lot of people were starting to talk about within the last, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks. That a lot of people were giving a lot of kudos and props to Society of Snow for visual effects. And how it seemed to be creeping in on a lot of these smaller categories when it comes to other awards. So I'm like, maybe they have something going on here. Maybe there's a movement here on that. So that's why I included that on my list. And The Creator, even though The Creator was not like a great movie, I mean, it was okay. And I'm not expecting it to get a lot of love during award season.
This is the one category.
This is the one because
impeccable visual effects.
It was seamless. It felt like everything was just how it should be. You know, it's hard to believe that what you're seeing on screen, most of it is CG and all that, you know, with the robots and the spaceships and the battle scenes and all. So I thought it was extremely well done. So at least it should be recognized for that, you know, overall.
This is one of those categories that it's always going to get some of those. The only thing I was kind of surprised by was you didn't put Spider-Verse, because I just know how much you love Miles Morales. But I think you and I are both a little suspicious of this film even being in that category. So that's why I took it off mine. So makes the same reason for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I looked at the short list and when I saw it was part of that short list, I was baffled because my whole thing was that this is an animated film. So when I think of visual effects, I think of live action visual effects. I don't think of animation because I feel like in a way that's unfair to compare that to visual effects that you would do on a live action set, because animation, you could just basically do whatever you want. So I just thought that was kind of weird to include that there. And I don't think I've ever seen an animated film included on the short list for visual effects in the past. Maybe there was, but I never saw it. So I just, for that, I kind of disqualified it in my own head for that.
So far, it's Nightmare Before Christmas and Kubo and the Two Strings, both of which were stop motion, got VFX noms. And then if you're going to include the live action Lion King, that's another one of those, but that's different, right? Like that's not pen to paper. That's these lines getting blurred before we go, and Spider-Verse is a line, right? Is a line blurrer. But at the end of the day, those ones kind of make more sense than Spider-Verse. So that's why I'm thinking, as people see other movies and people ask a few follow-up questions of like, okay, why is this included? And for all I know, there's a great reason. And they're going to, when they put out their for your consideration press packets, they'll explain why this should be the exception. Right. And for all I know, they did a lot of practical effects. For all I know, all of Spider-Verse was actually real and it totally happened and wasn't even animated. I don't know. Right. But I have a feeling that if they don't make some very compelling case, this one might lose some love, even though people are loving the movie, and it'll get a lot of love early on because, like, oh, it's nominating all these other things. Maybe it'll get nominated here. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. And sometimes if you see something, and I'm not calling it category fraud, but if you see something like that, sometimes it'll actually lose love, and people are less likely to vote for it, even as a nomination, just because they kind of don't want to see it there and messing up their category, the little category keepers. Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Next category we have here is film editing. So on my list here for film editing, I have Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, and Barbie. What do you have?
Here, give me what I'm okay. So I made a terrible error here. What I did was when I changed some things, I copy pasted that whole section, and I had Holdovers on my list and Anatomy of a Fall. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking at your list again. Thank God. That makes way more sense. Okay.
All right. Maybe I should separate these two lists.
No, I think it seems like you're getting so confused. This is good content. No, there's no chance that I absolutely write Dawn of the Nugget 10 times for your Best Picture nominations. That might definitely happen. So here we go. For film editing, I had made a change at one point, making it back. Okay, Oppenheimer, definitely. Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, and Holdovers. And I don't feel really great about those whatsoever.
Why not?
I mean, Maestro is the main one. That's another movie. I know it'll get some nominations, but it's one of those Netflix, more people seen it. You could see it getting, in theory, director, picture, like a lot of the ones undercards we've talked about, acting, and you could see it getting almost jack shit. It seems like right now the narrative is not good for Maestro, as some folks are seeing it, and then some people love it, and it's just polarizing enough as a movie that I have a bad feeling about it. So I almost wanted to give that visual effects from Maestro over to Anatomy of a Fall, but then I realized I was overthinking it, and I said, fuck it, and here we are. So
okay. So you're basically doing the typical Blake thing that I have seen in the past years, where
what are you talking about?
You're constantly second guessing your choices, and then you try your best to sabotage my list. And
yeah, that's the strategy, bro.
Yeah,
that's not a Blake thing. That's just good strategy.
Right. All right. Next up, we have costume design. Why don't you start off with this one?
No, why don't you go ahead? Because I'm still doing the same thing I was doing before, just cleaning up whatever the fuck I did here.
Brilliant. Okay. Costume design. What I have here is Poor Things, Barbie, Napoleon, Wonka, and The Color Purple. I think this is one of the only categories that you're going to see Wonka mentioned. Because again, I one of the things that stands out in that movie is the costumes. I think that's one of the things that really speak out as far as things that stand out in that movie. Napoleon, I'm of course going because it's a period movie. Barbie and Poor Things, I think, have the better chance and shot because there's a lot of great costume design in that film, in those two films. And I included The Color Purple too because, again, it's a nice little period piece. And since I'm kind of treating The Color Purple like a Broadway production put on film, that has a lot to do with it too. And I think they have to always make sure and pay attention that the costumes are on point for something like that. So those are my choices there.
Yeah, this is one of those where we differ a little bit more. Poor Things, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and The Color Purple. I don't feel great about Wonka's chances of being taken seriously. And while this is the type of category a movie like that could get into, I don't think that the costumes were so exceptional. They were fantastical at times. They're already based off of something that pre-existed. And I didn't think of them as that unique. There's some fun moments where the bad guy, Olivia Colman and whatever the dude's name was, there's some humor with that type of stuff. But it's to me, it doesn't rise to, oh, now they're going to take it seriously for this category, the way we were just talking about with a movie like The Creator, where the visual effects are undeniable. I don't think the costuming in Wonka was quite undeniable. So I'm going with Oppenheimer. I'm often, if I'm flipping a coin, I'm landing it on the head of Oppenheimer. I think that movie is going to get more love than we think. And if I'm wrong, you'll probably win this game. The other one that I was on the fence about, but ended up landing on, was Color Purple versus Napoleon, Oppenheimer versus Wonka. Between those, the reason why I went with Color Purple was all the reasons you said, plus the pants are a big part of the story.
That's true.
And that's the feel-good part of the story. Once things turn around in a real fucked up story, you go, oh, she's going to be okay. And the whole line, it's even in the advertising, I'm wearing the pants now, right? It's a theme of the movie. So if something's sticking out from that movie, costume might put it over the edge just a little bit more. Just positive connotations with that moment in the film. Do I actually think without that it would be there? No, I actually might give it to Napoleon instead, or maybe even something else. But here we are.
Nice.
Getting down to the nitty gritty. Yeah.
Next up, we have production design. Now, this was one of the categories that you and I talked a lot about, like throughout the year, because we were seeing a lot of great, in our opinion, production design work in a lot of these films. So because of that, what I have on my list are Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Barbie, The Color Purple, and Asteroid City. The fact that Wes Anderson built that entire town for Asteroid City with the aesthetics that he implemented for that movie, I think that takes a lot of work and a lot of creativity there. So I put that there for him. Same thing can be said with Barbie. You know, the whole Barbie land was phenomenal. The fact that they built all that, the fact that they went through so much pink paint that there was a pink paint shortage during the production of that movie is quite hilarious in my opinion. And of course, everything else. Color Purple, again, same explanation like I did with costume design. I'm treating it like a Broadway production, and there's a lot of different sets, I'm going to call them, in that film that really play a lot of important parts in the movie throughout. So yeah, and of course, Poor Things had probably the best production design throughout the whole year. I mean, if you haven't seen that movie, it is unbelievable how amazing the production design is, like for all of the things that they filmed there. So yeah, so those are my choices for production design there. What about you?
This is another one where you and I differ a bit. I took a swing here. Can't wait to get to it. So production design, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Barbie. Then I go Napoleon and then Saltburn. Okay. So here's me playing the field a little bit.
Okay.
If it were up to me, Saltburn would be nominated in every single category, including animated short. I don't give a fuck. I really love that movie. That said, if there was something this movie was really, really fun and special with that you're going to remember, a lot of people, when they mention their favorite scene or a scene that stood out, it's the tour of that house and being in that setting. And you had at some point talked about the setting of the movie. Was it you? Maybe somebody else I was talking to. They'd been there, the first part when he's at school, and that it felt like that place. And so I'm going to go and say production design, Saltburn. It's one of the things that the movie does really well. And even when people complain about it, it's because it's like the production design was too much. So I'm going on a whim here and choosing that, even though that's real low on predictors' list. The other one is Napoleon. Personally, I'm going to go against what you said. Okay. And for the first ever time, disagree with you on something. I know. Please don't take it hard. No. But Color Purple, that was one of my least favorite things about the movie was the set design. It had that musical to a movie thing where I didn't feel like I was actually in a lot of the places I was in. They felt like set pieces. And it's one of those things that, yes, it's a set, and yet it felt more like, what are those called? Like a production set or a stage, like a Broadway stage. And there's times where they were making kind of arbitrary decisions of where a certain scene is set. To me, it wasn't that spectacular, and it actually was detracting from what I enjoyed of the movie. So that's why, but that's more personal. Is that what Oscar voters are going to go with? Maybe not. Maybe because it was noticeable, it'll actually get more love. We see that with plenty of categories. Oh, this had the most editing, therefore it'll get an editing nomination. So I might be just going against my own better judgment, but I'm taking a few swings here, especially as we get further and I'm getting more delirious with my list. So that's what I'm marking down as my 5. Hold it against me later.
All right, awesome. Next up, we have cinematography. This is one of our favorite categories here. And again, this is another category we were talking a lot about throughout the year because there were just a lot of movies that had, in our opinions, amazing cinematography all throughout. So because of that, what I have on my list here is Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, and The Zone of Interest. If you have been listening to us, you wouldn't be surprised with any of these selections because we talked about them quite extensively when we were talking about these movies. That cinematography is by far peak when these movies came out, in my opinion. Do you have the same choices on your list?
Same. Yep, yeah, exactly.
I'm not surprised there either because I think we were pretty unanimous when we were talking about these films that, wow, the cinematography was fully on point here. So that's good. That's good that we're on the same page there. The next 2 categories are your favorite categories. So why don't you take these? Because I know you're a huge fan of the writing.
Sure. Thank you so much, Renee, for this opportunity to do that. As I double check and make sure. I'm not even kidding. Just go ahead, because as we're going, I'm cleaning up things that I messed up when I was pasting things over. So I appreciate it. But no, sir, after you, please. I insist.
Okay. Now, the major controversy going into these nominations is Barbie. There's a huge back and forth going on, and it looks like it's been finalized that Barbie is only going to be qualified for adapted screenplay and not original. I am too kind of baffled by that, but at the same time, I do kind of understand because it is kind of tied to a major, well-known, established IP in the Mattel property of Barbie. But still, it is an original take on the whole Barbie franchise. So I think it is kind of like a weird scenario there. But with all that being said, for adapted screenplay, and again, definition of adapted screenplay is a screenplay that has been adapted by an original existing source material, whether it's a book, a short story, a poem, a song, whatever. So what I have here on my list for adapted screenplay is Barbie, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and American Fiction. What say you there, Blake?
Cool. And I'm finally now confirmed that we're good to go for the rest of the time. Okay. Thank goodness. Unless you were messing with your supporting actress just now, but I think
I was not.
Damn
no.
it. Okay. All right. Thank goodness. You should. It's real fun if you just have a little panic as you go through this list.
I'm good.
Way. Okay. Adapted. We're Zone of Interest, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and American Fiction. So we're in the exact same boat here. I'm sorry.
No,
I
we're
switched
not.
out. You had Barbie. Here's my theory, and I
Yeah.
had Barbie up until the last second, and then I had a panic attack and switched to Zone of Interest. So glad this is on camera. It was a good idea to record these. My honest thought is that similar to the category fraud type thing we were talking about earlier with Spider-Verse, I have a feeling there'll be just enough people who want to vote for it for screenplay, but say this is bullshit. And like, I'm sure there'll be some people who are going to be big mad about it. Personally, I don't really care that much. But if you feel like this is the wrong category, it'll be hard to vote for that thing. We've seen it sometimes where an actor or actress will say, hey, I would like to be put into this category, and it can split their votes and kind of mess them up. With some categories, that actually works out okay to where you get enough votes in both categories so you're actually moved into, like, they consolidate them. I don't think that's how it works with screenplay. If I'm wrong, then I would love to put Barbie back on, but it's too late now. I'm sticking with Zone of Interest here for adapted screenplay.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that's a bad choice, to be honest with you. I think if you've seen the movie Zone of Interest and you read the book, even though there were some liberties taken from what I heard, still, Zone of Interest turned out to be, in our opinion, a very well done movie. I don't know if everyone else feels that way. Obviously, it didn't feel that way with the three bros sitting behind me during my screening of it. But we'll see what happens. I just think, in my opinion, because you have Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach writing that script, it'll be difficult for someone who respects their work not to nominate them in this category, even though it may be the incorrect category. So that's just how I looked at it. Now we have original screenplay. Are you confident in taking this one, Blake, to be the first one here?
So confident, Renee. Okay. I'm always confident. That's my whole thing. Which category was it, though?
Original screenplay.
Obviously, original screenplay. Yes. Obviously. So I went with Holdovers, Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, and May December.
Okay. Well, we have exactly the same list.
Yeah. That's one of the categories where it seems among the cleanest. So I'm glad we agree. And that way, if I'm wrong about something, then so are you.
Yeah. Or you just changed my list to look like yours because you thought you were editing yours. And I don't remember what I put down. So it could be one of those things.
Totally possible. I've been sabotaging you this entire time. Just wait till you get the best picture, Dawn of the Nugget.
Well, actually, I know for a fact what I put down for Best Picture, so everything looks perfectly on point the way I was expecting it to be. All right.
Good.
Now we get into
cool.
Now we get into the major categories here. And first up, we're going to hit up with the supporting categories. So supporting actress. I think for me, this was a very difficult category to kind of come up with because there was a lot of, again, we're seeing this every year where there's just a lot of strong performances all around. I went ahead and I just went with mostly gut on this one. And what I put down on my list for supporting actress is Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Daniel Brooks for The Color Purple, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, and Julianne Moore for May December. That's what I have on my list here. The big standout for me when I saw The Color Purple was Danielle Brooks. I thought her performance was outstanding. But at the same time, Taraji P. Henson's performance was also equally outstanding as well. So I could not help but put them on this list here. Of course, Davine's performance in The Holdovers was fantastic as well. There's just so much good performances here. I think the one that could be questionable for a lot of people maybe is Julianne Moore. But I did like her performance a lot in May December. She made that movie work, and it was the chemistry with her and Natalie Portman that really made it work. So that's why she's on my list. What about you there, Blake?
Only a slight difference. I decided to, on a limb, throw in Penelope Cruz instead. Also, I'm pretty sure it's Divine Joy Randolph.
Is it Divine?
If I'm
I'm
wrong,
sorry.
I
Okay.
am so sorry.
Okay.
So sorry if I'm wrong.
Well,
But
I've
that
been
makes
known
a lot of
to
sense. That's
I've
what
been
I've
known
heard
to
people
say
say.
names wrong. So
Even the movies you love, like Boy in the Heron. That's one
exactly.
of my favorites. Still don't know
Exactly.
what's
Yeah.
going on with that. I'm ignoring it. I think it's fun. Actually, I'm just gonna let you start. I'm just gonna ignore it from now on. I'm probably gonna start saying Heron now from hanging out with you. I switch out. While I love Taraji P. Henson more than any person in my family, friends, and I've never even met her. I love her so much. I'm giving less love to Color Purple at the end of the day. Maybe that'll be a bad bet, and so I'm not giving it 2 nominations here. I am going with Danielle Brooks, but I'm going over to Penelope Cruz. My thinking with keeping in Julianne Moore and adding Penelope Cruz is the more international Oscars voting body. Penelope Cruz has gotten Oscars love even in recent years when it really wasn't expected. And that's a really lovely performance that might resound more with an international voting body. So where we're not seeing her get love in especially more America-based Guild Awards, I'm going to think that the Oscars, this would be a chance for her to pull through and break into that 5. But we'll see. Not very confident right now about anything, even.
Apparently.
Not even sure if I chose that, but it was a good defense, I think. I think it made sense. We'll see.
Yeah, no, Penelope Cruz was someone I was on the fence with when I was going through this category because she was the one that stood out for me in Ferrari. She was, again, whenever you see a very strong female character on screen, those are the ones who get a lot of attention, especially with the kind of year that we had in 2023, where, it was filled with a lot of great, strong female presence. So you could be you could be right. But I just think no matter what, this category in itself is extremely strong. It's like this category and the actress category, very, very strong categories there. So we'll see what happens when the nominees are officially announced. We'll see where the voting body went. Next up,
it's amazing to me how strong this category is, and it doesn't have anyone from Dawn of the Nugget represented. And
yeah,
to me, that's one of the big oversights of the year so far. But I understand some movies just can't compete in certain. So hopefully they make up for that in Best Picture. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, making up for it in supporting actor, I have Zachary Levi for. No, I'm just kidding. No, for supporting actor, I have Robert Downey Jr., Robert De Niro, Ryan Gosling, Willem Dafoe, and Charles Melton. I think the one who stands out here is Charles Melton because I don't think a lot of people were expecting him to get so much love in the awards season, and he was getting so much love at the beginning of awards season, and still kind of getting it too now. I think you and our biggest contention here was Robert De Niro when we were talking about, was Robert De Niro really good in Killers of the Flower Moon? And I think my answer to that was, well, this is the Robert De Niro we normally should be getting because he is such a strong actor, right? So
I wish he'd done his Meet the Fockers work in Killers of the Flower Moon. In fact, it actually may have been the same thing. I'm honestly not sure. Is he just De Niroing? Like that's just who he is all the time? That's my understanding. Could be wrong, but he just has different lines, I think, at this point. He's a legend, and he got really good at doing that thing. I'm not trying to take it away. But to me, this one didn't rise above in any way. And in fact, there's a couple times where I was looking at it, hearing him do a line reading, going like, "This feels a little forced. This feels like he's phoning it in today." Maybe not everyone will agree. Sometimes that when he's doing anything around an accent, it can be kind of funny because has such a famous voice, one of the most impersonated people of all time. So a few of those decisions didn't make sense to me, or they rang flat. But we also know the Oscars love to nominate old legends, and this is not a terrible performance by any means. After Charles Melton, there's not a lot of people who I'm really thinking, oh man, they deserve to be in there, except folks who really aren't being considered. Like personally, I'm just ranting now, but I would put Dominic Sessa in this category in a heartbeat before a lot of these dudes. But that's just me.
No, absolutely.
And that'll be another episode when we talk about who we would have nominated.
Yeah, no, I totally agree in that aspect. Like, I thought his, for someone who this was his first role, I thought did an amazing job in The Holdovers. And I think you could have easily also picked any one of the actors from The Iron Claw, because I felt like there was a lot of great performances in that as well. But I don't think Iron Claw is going to get any love at this Oscars awards. So what was your final list for supporting actor? I don't think you mentioned that yet.
With the same, I made one little change. Robert Downey, Robert De Niro, Ryan Gosling, Charles Melton, and then Mark Ruffalo instead of Willem Dafoe. Gotcha. I think Mark Ruffalo's performance is loud. I think there's a lot of love for him in Hollywood. I know that that's even more true for Willem Dafoe, but his role is so muted. My feeling is that because the Oscars are the last award of the season, as things are aging, we might see more love for that Ruffalo performance than the Dafoe one. I will actually be surprised if unless it's both without Melton or something, but I would actually be surprised if it's Ruffalo and not Dafoe. But that's what I personally want to happen, and I'm kind of trying to will it to happen a little bit. I'm trusting the Oscars a little bit, but I will gasp a little bit, just a little, oh, good kind of thing, because I'm not confident in that bit at all. Right. They've when they nominated Dafoe for the Vincent Van Gogh movie, that's when I'm like, okay, they might have a crush on Willem Dafoe. I don't know who among us doesn't.
I mean, he just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame a couple of weeks ago, so he could be high in everyone's head right now. Who knows? Next category we have here is actress. So here we have, or I should say, Emma Stone, Greta Lee, Sandra Hüller, Carey Mulligan, and Lily Gladstone. In recent weeks, I think Emma Stone and Carey Mulligan and Sandra are getting a lot of love in recent weeks. Lily Gladstone was like the number one person going into award season, but I do feel like her name is getting a little bit watered down now, the more deeper in the season we're getting in. But I mean, her performance still is probably one of the best of the year last year, so I had to include her there. And Greta Lee, because again, Past Lives was one of my favorite movies of the year, so I have to give her a shout out and include her on this list here. What do you have there on yours?
While I read my list, just double check the last name on your best actor list, just to make sure that wasn't, because I have the same one. And I don't think you would have put that, but we'll see. So for actress, basically the same list with one exception. So Emma Stone, Sandra Hüller, Carey Mulligan, Lily Gladstone. The one that I switched out is I had a hard time leaving out Margot Robbie, who I had. Mm-hmm. I'd never had Greta Lee, but I'm going to go with Annette Bening with the similar theories we've talked about before. An old hand in Hollywood. And I watched that movie and I did not enjoy it one bit, but I was constantly amazed at what Annette Bening was putting herself through for that role. We know that the Oscars love a good punishing performance like that. And the fact that she's been so consistently doing great work, recognized in the past by Hollywood, and it's a bit overdue at this point. So wouldn't be shocked if she's left off, but if there's going to be some big upset of the day, and some of the headlines might be Margot Robbie snubbed and Annette Bening's the person taking the place. We're seeing less love for Past Lives than I would have thought around award season overall. So I'm not going Greta Lee. Personally, these are not who I would be choosing necessarily for these awards. But when I'm looking for an upset, that's what I'm going with for Annette Bening.
Yeah, I think if things turn out the way you and I are thinking they might turn out, I think the big surprise is Margot Robbie not getting nominated for the actress category. I think that's going to surprise a lot of people. But at the same time, when you really think about it, most people who saw that movie will say that Ryan Gosling was the outstanding person in that movie. So it's kind of weird how that dynamic has changed, especially with the narrative of the movie itself. So I just think that will be really interesting if this does come into fruition the way we think it might. But we could be very wrong too, and she could be very much well nominated, and one of these other ladies will be left out. So we'll see what happens, but that's going to be very interesting. So that leads us to actor. In the best acting category here, we have Cillian Murphy on my list, Paul Giamatti, Bradley Cooper, Jeffrey Wright, and Coleman Domingo. I do have him on here because I'm hearing so much good stuff about his performance in Rustin. And he was also in The Color Purple. So I think the fact that he has two well done performances very close to each other, I think that he's going to be very fresh in a lot of people's minds when it comes to the voting process. So yeah, that's what I have on my list.
You think his performances are well done? I think they're rare.
Hey-o.
But each their own. I'm going to put a stake in it and say the exact same 5 for me. Cillian Murphy, Giamatti, Bradley Cooper, Jeffrey Wright, Coleman Domingo. I think that's a precise match with yours. So not a copy paste error, I promise. A lot of folks have Leo on their list for best actor. He's currently favored a good margin ahead of Coleman Domingo, but for the exact same reasons you said, I've got Coleman Domingo rounding that spot out.
Yeah. And for me, the reason why I didn't put Leo on my list is because same reason I'm giving with Margot Robbie. I don't think Leo was the strongest person in that movie. I really do think that really does belong to Lily Gladstone, even though there could be an argument made that she was kind of muted towards the later half of the film. Still, every moment she was on camera, she owned the camera. She was the biggest presence there over Leo. So, again, we'll just see what happens there. Director. This is always a very fun category. Another one of our favorites that we love talking about. So on my list here, I have Christopher Nolan, Greta Gerwig, Martin Scorsese, Celine Song, and Yorgos Lanthimos. Celine Song, I am giving love to Past Lives because for someone who this is their debut film, their directorial debut, I think she put together a beautiful movie. And if you go through the year last year, so many people had Past Lives on their top lists, and so many people were talking about that movie. I'm hoping that still will continue moving forward. I know it could have changed because of other people who are favoring other people in this category, but I'm going to put her there, and I'm going to give my love to her there on my list. What about you?
I hope you're right, honestly. There's a couple other folks I would also be happy with for that 5th spot. Let's just say it's pretty smart betting right now. The locks would be Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Greta Gerwig. These are really solid bets. The folks who are almost certainly getting the most nominations throughout their movies, which is a pretty good indicator. They're all respected past nominees. You go down the line and why they're smart. And then after that, the drop-off is really interesting because you have a lot of different people who have these different stories and narratives of maybe why, maybe not. And it's very unclear who it could be. So that's a very volatile. It's one of the, if you look at like the odds and the recently, that's got the biggest movement is that 5th spot for director. Right. So I'm going different than you. Instead of doing Past Lives, I'm being a cynic and saying The Holdovers.
Okay.
Did Alexander Payne do a great job? Yes. Why am I choosing it? Not because of that. Because while Hollywood has gotten much better at choosing folks like Celine Song, I know they still have some bad habits to iron out. And one of those is a curmudgeonly movie from an old dude that reminds them of the 1970s when they thought the movies were the best and it gave them that good feeling. And it was a good job at doing that. It was one of the most first things I noticed, like, oh, wow, this is really effective at reminiscing that era. Yeah. My fear is that that's why it'll get the 5th director spot. So good job, successful. That's awesome. Does that mean it's the fifth best movie? Not necessarily, but it'll take a lot of the biases of some of the voting body. I think in the Green Book era of the Oscars, this would definitely be nominated over Past Lives, Celine's Song. Another one that I almost put Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. There's a lot of those voters who go, I didn't get it, or that was too confusing, or something. They say shit like that. So for that contingency, I'm going to say I'm throwing it out. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for reminding me. Alexander Payne for Holdovers, just a pure cynic 5 spot.
Hey, I almost had him on my list. So I did one of those like gut check last minute changes where I'm like, no, I'm giving this to Celine. Basically, I put myself in the position of, if I was voting myself, who would I put in there? So I kind of put that in there as that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does get nominated here, because that's The Holdovers is the movie that a lot of people have been talking about for the last 2 months. And it is getting a lot of love and recognition in some of the more smaller awards ceremonies that we had recently. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's the beauty of it all. All right. Now we're down to the big daddy, the big event, the big cheese, Best Picture.
Yeah.
And here on my list for Best Picture, I have, and we both chose 10. We don't know if 10 will be chosen because they kind of go back and forth on whatever algorithm they have. Like sometimes it could be 8.
Point? Right. Yes. Do we lose a point if we put one a 10th that isn't there, but there's not? Because I think that's actually funny. Right. I might actually knock off the last one if we were to do that. But, okay. I interrupted.
Yeah, no, we're not doing anything crazy like that. Nothing to cause more stress to you.
Go ahead. Sorry, right. I'm spoiling it.
It's okay. So on my list for Best Picture, I have Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Barbie, Past Lives, The Holdovers, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall, American Fiction, and Chicken Run 2. No, I'm just kidding. The Color Purple. So big question is, do you have the similar list that I have?
Very similar. I think basically everyone will. And then as I was going through it, somehow I hadn't written down Killers of the Flower Moon. So I must have accidentally thought, like, I know that that's on my list. I must have I already wrote that down. You
didn't copy and paste it over.
But now that's why, Surely not. Surely, why would I do something like that? That's bonkers. So I'm just making sure I even have 10 right now, because that'd be great if I just gave myself 11. You didn't notice. Here's what I'm doing. This is stupid. I should go with what everyone is saying is for the smart money. I'm taking off Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest.
Okay.
And I'm putting in, well, now I'm not even sure where I am, because Killers should have been earlier.
I love how we're seeing live on recording your meltdown and your brain pretty much imploding.
Isn't it kind of fun if I just let it be? If I just don't even say these? Do you think I should?
What?
Say who I think the nominees are.
Yeah.
You want me to?
I want to hear what you're choosing.
Okay. Would you also like to hear me vamp? To kill time, to stall while I just double check
as you're double checking and finishing your list.
That's not what I'm doing.
Oh, it's not. Oh, it's funny because as I look at your list, I could see you don't have enough here.
Wait, really? Is that what's happening? Because I keep double checking 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I
have enough. You have enough. I'm just playing with you. Yeah.
Where did I go wrong? Because I'm about to find out.
That seems to be the story of this whole entire episode. Where have you gone wrong?
We'll wait until I get 100% correct out here. What I can't figure out is which one did I switch out? Because I took off Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest, and I put other shit in, and I'm about to just read them out. So here we go.
All right, let's go.
Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Barbie, Past Lives, The Holdovers, American Fiction, Maestro, Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon.
You said Past
and
Lives twice.
Spider-Verse. Thank God. Okay,
You
that
said
makes
Past Lives
way
twice.
more sense. See, that's the thing about Inyon.
About what? Oh,
Inyon.
I see what you're doing. Look, don't try to be clever and get yourself out of this situation here. You just messed up.
Okay, so now you're about to see me really freak out. And do I choose Anatomy of a Fall or Zone of Interest? Or do you just dock me the negative?
There we go.
Wait, what if Past Lives is nominated? Do I get double points? No. I think I should write Oppenheimer 10 times. That's 10 points, baby.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go with Anatomy of a Fall. I don't feel good about anything. And I'm going to throw up as soon as this is over. Are we? Did I do what I have to do?
Can you reread? So let's okay.
Oh, right.
One more time. Your final list for Best Picture is
Up. And do you want to read it along with me? Because you and I have basically the same ones. Oh, that's what happened.
What?
I made mine a left to right low. For your 6 through 10, you put it on the next line. That's where.
That's why you shouldn't copy and paste.
Going, how are there too many lines? That's not what happened.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Barbie, Past Lives, The Holdovers, American Fiction, Maestro, Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Spider-Verse, and Chicken Run, Dawn of the Chicken Nugget.
So you have an extra in there?
Yeah, it's the Nugget.
It's the Nugget extra.
Yeah.
So the only difference we have here is that you have Spider-Verse and I have the color purple. So
not confident about anything right now. I don't even know where I am.
Yeah.
Why did I leave off color purple instead of something near the bottom of the list? That doesn't make sense. Why would I do that?
Oh, Blake, this is why I love doing this stuff with you, because I know how difficult it can be. And seeing you have your own internal meltdown during the whole process.
With friends like this who need the podcast. This is great. I'm glad we could do this on record.
No, absolutely. But yeah, there it is. Those are our final nomination predictions. Again, when the official nominees are announced, it's going to be very interesting to see what those final nominees are going to be. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we will be live reacting to those nominations as they are announced live in a couple of weeks. So best way to follow us if you want to watch us and join in on our reaction and recap of those live announcements. All you have to do is go to the LOWKEY Geek channel there on YouTube. Link is in the description of the episode. And subscribe and make sure you have the notifications turned on so you get notified the minute we go live on that day. It's going to be early in the morning. They love to do this really early. I think, what time was it last time? 7 a.m. or 8 a.m.?
8 a.m. usually, or like 8:07 or something. They always make it a weirdly random time, but it's right around like 8:10 or something.
Yeah, which is funny too, because they are in California, so you would think they would be later in the day, but yeah, they probably can't sleep. They're probably just too excited.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just
maybe,
like you.
Maybe you'll get me even more delirious that day.
There it is.
Let's see.
That I can't wait for. And of course, I'm sure there are many people who just listen to this episode. They can't wait for that either, as they experience how it is in doing something like this with you there. So any final thoughts, comments on our predictions here? What are you looking forward to most once those nominees are announced?
I have no final thoughts, and I might not have any thoughts ever again. My brain is so wiped from this exercise. What are we talking about next week? Are we doing our own personal noms? Are we doing our fun noms? Our own little award show? What are we doing next week, buddy?
Next week, if you tune in next week, we will be doing our first annual MovieTime Movie Awards for 2023. Just to give a tease of some of the categories that we have created for these awards, we have the Zaddy Award, Best Dance, Best Hatter or Hattress, the Fresh Face of 2023. Now, are we calling it Awkward Sex Scene, or are we going to?
I don't want to shame anyone. So just the Saltburn Moment of the Year. I don't know. Maybe the annual
Saltburn Moment of the Year. I like that.
Saltburners. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some Poor Things action in there probably. So we'll come up with a fun name for it.
Yeah.
What's like a classic movies awkward sex scene from history? Just naming it after that might be fun.
The Basic Instinct Award.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. If you're into that, as long as it's consensual and safe, we're not
Absolutely.
awkward sex is good sex as long as you're following those rules. Whatever. Kind of in some ways, all sex is awkward sex, but in the movies when they're really leaning into
it is with me
and showing somebody drinking bathwater, that might get you a nomination right there. This might be the Saltburn Awards now that I think about it, with the dance category, the sex scene category. We might get a lot of that. So Saltburn might get 5 nominations in the sex scene category.
Hey,
who knows? Anything can happen on awards now.
Who knows? This is the one award show where Saltburn will get the love it properly deserves. So
much love. Almost
that
like
is just
a freakish amount, like an obsessive amount of love. Like, stop looking at me with those beady eyes, Barry Keoghan amount of love.
Especially since in combined total, you and I, we've seen the movie 10 times at this point.
10 something. You might be missing a 0.
Yeah. So that's just a little tease of what to expect with the MovieTime Movie Awards for 2023. That will be our episode next week. So make sure to tune in for that. As we close out this episode of MovieTime for this week, as always, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We appreciate all the support. Obviously, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to leave a nice rating on the channel through the podcast platform that you're listening to this on. And as I mentioned before, if you want to see any of our clip outs or stay up to date with anything that we do on the channel and join us on our live reaction of the nominations, make sure you visit the LOWKEY Geek channel there on YouTube and subscribe and turn those notifications on for all that good stuff. Blake, where can people find you online?
Find me on the floor in the fetal position crying because it's award season and I'm freaking out. You can also find me maybe at a theater if they're still playing Saltburn. Any small towns that just got at their dollar theaters, let me know. I'd love to drive out and see Saltburn again in theaters. Or you can find me on Letterboxd. Screen name, last name, Wolf. I just added a list that was my 20 favorite movies of the last year. We recently covered our top 18 total. Added a couple more. Had a really nervous breakdown doing that too. Like, what do I love more between these two perfect films? And it's really hard to choose. So that's where Past Lives got some more love from me. Nice. That's where Spider-Verse got some more love from me. So you'd be happy to see that, I'm sure. You sicko. But yeah, this was so fun. Thanks. I hope this is the last Oscars ever. I hope we never do this again.
I can tell by your face that you had so much fun doing all this.
I mean, I love being tortured. That's why I think I do it. This is my strategy every year.
There you go. Well, again, this was indeed a lot of fun, and I'm glad we get to do this every year. As for myself, LOWKEY Geek, Twitter, or Twix, I should say, Instagram, again, YouTube, and through your podcast platform of choice. Find this channel wherever podcasts are listened to and found. As always, we appreciate all your support. If you want to further support us, check out the affiliates that we have in the description of this video. Hopefully you'll see something that catches your eye, and anything that you do through any of the affiliate links that we have listed there, we do get a little kickback, and it helps support the channel, keep it growing and keep it going on and paying all the bills and all that. And as I mentioned before, the Patreon will be announced soon. So that's another great way to show your support and join in and further interact with us and the community here. So with all that out of the way, this has been episode of MovieTime. I'm Renee. That's Blake. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. And we will catch you all next week in the next one. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye. Choo-choo.